When we think of a bee, what often comes to mind is a single familiar image. Perhaps it is the gentle hum of a honeybee flitting from flower to flower on a warm summer's day. Or maybe it is the sweet golden liquid it produces, a taste we have cherished for millennia. But this is only a tiny fragment of a much larger, more intricate story. The world of bees is vastly more complex and wonderfully diverse than we might imagine. These small creatures are not merely providers of honey. They are the unseen architects of our ecosystems, the tireless workers who ensure the survival of countless plant species, and by extension, our own. Their constant, quiet labor underpins the very foundations of the natural world. Their importance extends far beyond the wild meadows and deep forests. It reaches directly into our homes, onto our dinner plates. The vibrant colors of the fruits and vegetables we eat, the crunch of an apple, the sweetness of a strawberry, all are testaments to the work of bees. They are responsible for pollinating a staggering proportion of the world's food crops. Without their diligent efforts, our diets would be dramatically different, far less nutritious, and the global food supply would face a crisis of unimaginable scale. The term bee is a wonderfully simple word for an astonishingly diverse group of insects. Across the globe there are over 20,000 known species of bees, each with its own unique appearance, behavior, and way of life. They inhabit almost every corner of the planet where flowering plants can be found, from the highest mountain meadows to the most arid deserts. This incredible variety is a beautiful example of nature's ingenuity. To begin to comprehend this diversity, we can group these fascinating creatures into three main categories, based largely on their social structures. First, there are the social bees, like the well-known honeybees and bumblebees, which live together in organized colonies. Then there are the solitary bees, which, as their name suggests, live and work alone. This group makes up the overwhelming majority of all bee species, a silent workforce operating without the structure of a hive. And finally, there are the cuckoo bees which, much like the birds they are named after, lay their eggs in the nests of other bees, a clever and sometimes ruthless survival strategy. The honeybee is perhaps the most famous of all bees, and for good reason. It lives in a highly organized and complex society, a superorganism where the whole is far greater than the sum of its parts. At the heart of this society is a single revered individual, the queen. She is the mother of all, her sole purpose to lay the thousands of eggs that will ensure the colony's continuation. She is surrounded and tended to by her countless daughters, the worker bees. These sterile females are the lifeblood of the hive, performing every task necessary for its survival, from cleaning and nursing the young to foraging for food and defending the nest from intruders. The life of a worker bee is a journey through different roles dictated by her age. In her youth she remains within the hive, serving as a nursemaid to the developing larvae or as an architect, building the perfect hexagonal cells of the wax honeycomb. As she grows older she graduates to guard duty, patrolling the entrance of the hive. Finally, she becomes a forager, venturing out into the world on her most perilous and important mission, to gather nectar and pollen. It is in this final phase of her life that she performs the vital act of pollination, the service for which we owe her so much. The males or drones have but one purpose, to mate with a new queen, after which their life's work is complete. Communication within this bustling city is a wonder of the natural world. A returning forager, having discovered a rich source of nectar, performs a remarkable waggle dance. Through a series of precise movements she is able to tell her sisters the exact direction and distance to the flowers. It is a symbolic language of incredible sophistication, a map drawn in motion that allows the colony to efficiently exploit the resources of the surrounding landscape. If the honeybee is the refined and organized city dweller, the bumblebee is its robust and hardy country cousin. Larger, rounder, and covered in a thick coat of fuzzy hair, the bumblebee is perfectly built for cooler climates. This furry coat is not just for show, it acts as insulation, allowing the bumblebee to be active on cold, overcast days when other insects, including honeybees, remain sheltered in their nests. This makes them exceptionally important pollinators in temperate regions and at high altitudes where the weather can be unpredictable. Unlike the vast perennial colonies of honeybees, a bumblebee society is a much smaller and more temporary affair. Each spring, a new queen, having survived the winter alone, emerges from hibernation to found a new nest. She finds a suitable location, often an old rodent burrow or a dense clump of grass, and single-handedly raises her first brood of daughters. The bumblebee possesses a unique skill that sets it apart from many other bees' buzz pollination. Certain plants, such as tomatoes, peppers, and blueberries, hold their pollen tightly within their flowers. A bumblebee can land on one of these flowers, grab hold, and vibrate its powerful flight muscles at a specific frequency. This vibration shakes the pollen loose, causing it to rain down onto the bee's fuzzy body. This remarkable technique makes bumblebees incredibly efficient and, in some cases, the only pollinators for these important food crops. Their bumbling, buzzing presence in a garden is a sign of a highly effective pollination process taking place. Their gentle nature and tireless work ethic make them beloved figures in our gardens and countryside. While they can sting, they are far less defensive than honeybees and will generally only do so if their nest is directly threatened. Beyond the well-known social structures of honeybees and bumblebees lies the vast and often overlooked world of solitary bees. These bees represent the silent majority, comprising nearly 90% of all bee species on Earth. As their name implies, they do not form colonies or live with a queen and workers. Instead, each female is a queen in her own right. She builds her own nest, gathers her own food, and lays her own eggs without any help from others. Their nesting habits are as wonderfully varied as the bees themselves. Many, like the mason bees, use mud to construct their nests in hollow reeds, beetle burrows, or pre-made nesting blocks. Others, like the leafcutter bees, meticulously snip perfect circles from leaves to line their nesting chambers, creating a soft and protected cradle for their young. Then there are the mining bees, which excavate tiny, intricate tunnels in bare patches of soil, each leading to a series of chambers where they will provision their offspring. These nests are often all around us in our gardens and parks, yet they go almost entirely unnoticed. The life cycle of a solitary bee is a real testament to dedication and maternal care. After creating her nest, the female makes numerous foraging trips, gathering a mixture of pollen and nectar. She forms this into a small loaf, often called a pollen ball, inside a nesting cell. On top of this provision, she lays a single egg. She then seals the cell and repeats the process, creating a series of chambers, each with a single egg and enough food to see it through its development. Her work done, she will often die, never meeting the offspring she worked so tirelessly to provide for. Though they do not produce honey for us to harvest, the value of solitary bees as pollinators is immense. Many are specialists, preferring to visit only a certain type of flower, which makes them incredibly efficient at pollinating those specific plants. They are often gentler than their social cousins, and are fantastic pollinators for home gardens and small farms. The mason bee, for example, is a powerhouse pollinator for early blooming fruit trees like apples and cherries. Pollination is one of nature's most vital processes, a magical exchange that underpins the health of our planet. It is, in its simplest form, the transfer of pollen from the male part of a flower to the female part, which enables fertilization and the production of seeds. For many plants, this cannot happen on its own. They require an intermediary, a messenger to carry the precious golden dust from one blossom to another. Bees are, without question, the most important of these messengers. This ancient partnership between bees and flowering plants, developed over 100 million years, has shaped the world as we know it, creating the beautiful and bountiful landscapes we depend upon. When a bee lands on a flower, it is there for one reason: to collect food. It sips the sugary nectar for energy and gathers the protein-rich pollen to feed its young. As it moves about the flower, its body, often covered in fine hairs, becomes a natural brush, picking up thousands of pollen grains. When it flies to the next flower of the same species, some of these grains are transferred, completing the act of pollination. This is not an act of conscious altruism on the bee's part. It is a happy accident, a side effect of its search for food. Yet, this accidental service is responsible for the reproduction of over 85% of the world's flowering plants. The results of this process are all around us, and especially on our plates. It is estimated that 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat depends directly on the work of pollinators, like bees. Think of the incredible variety in the produce aisle of a supermarket. Apples, almonds, blueberries, melons, broccoli, and coffee are just a few of the hundreds of crops that rely on or benefit from bee pollination. Without bees, these foods would become scarce and prohibitively expensive, and our diets would be reduced to wind-pollinated crops like wheat, rice, and corn. The color, flavor, and nutrition of our food supply are painted by the brush of the bee. This partnership benefits not only humans, but entire ecosystems. The seeds and fruits produced through pollination are a critical food source for a vast array of wildlife, from birds to mammals. The plants themselves create habitats, prevent soil erosion, and produce the oxygen we breathe. Despite their immense importance, bee populations around the world are in serious trouble. These vital partners in our ecosystem are facing a barrage of threats, many of which are of our own making. One of the most significant threats is the loss and fragmentation of their habitat. As we expand our cities and convert diverse landscapes into vast monocultures of single crops, we destroy the very things bees need to survive: a variety of flowers for food and safe places to nest, a flowering meadow, a messy hedgerow, or a patch of undisturbed soil. These are the homes and restaurants for our bees. When we replace them with perfectly manicured lawns, concrete pavements, and endless fields of a single plant that blooms for only a short time, we are effectively creating food deserts for these essential creatures, leaving them to starve. The widespread use of pesticides in modern agriculture presents another grave danger. Insecticides, designed to kill crop pests, often do not distinguish between a harmful insect and a beneficial bee. Even at levels that are not immediately lethal, these chemicals can have devastating effects. They can impair a bee's ability to navigate, making it impossible for it to find its way back to the nest. They can weaken its immune system, making it more susceptible to diseases. Herbicides also play a role by eliminating the weeds, many of which are wildflowers, that bees rely on for food, further exacerbating the problem of habitat loss. Finally, bees are battling a host of diseases and parasites, which can spread more easily among populations already weakened by poor nutrition and chemical exposure. Pests like the varroa mite have decimated honeybee colonies around the world, while new diseases continue to emerge and affect both managed and wild bee populations. Combined with the overarching challenge of a changing climate, which can disrupt the delicate timing between when flowers bloom and when bees emerge, the situation is critical. These threats do not act in isolation. They combine to create a perfect storm that is pushing our bees to the brink. The challenge facing our bees is immense, but it is not insurmountable. Hope is not lost, and the power to make a difference lies with each and every one of us. We do not need to be scientists or large-scale farmers to become allies to the bees. Simple, conscious choices made in our own back gardens, on our balconies, and in our communities can collectively create a powerful, positive change. The first and most joyful step is to provide food. By planting a variety of flowers that bloom at different times from spring through to autumn, we can create a reliable and diverse buffet for our local bee populations. Choosing the right kinds of flowers is key. Native plants are often the best choice, as local bees have evolved alongside them for millennia. Simple, open-faced flowers like daisies, poppies, and clover are often more accessible to a wider range of bees than complex, multi-petaled ornamental varieties. It is also important to think beyond just the honeybee. Planting flowers of different shapes, sizes, and colors will attract and support the full diversity of bees, from the large, fuzzy bumblebees to the tiny, specialist solitary bees. Even a small window box or a few pots on a patio can become a vital refueling station for a bee in an urban landscape. We must also reconsider our use of chemicals in our gardens. Reaching for a pesticide to deal with a few aphids can have unintended and devastating consequences for the bees and other beneficial insects that visit our plants. There are many organic and natural alternatives to pest control, or we can simply learn to tolerate a little imperfection. A garden that is teeming with life, including a few chewed leaves, is a healthy garden. Similarly, allowing a small patch of our lawn to grow long or leaving a pile of dead wood can provide crucial nesting habitats for bumblebees and solitary bees. Beyond our own gardens, we can support beekeepers and farmers who practice bee-friendly agriculture. Buying local raw honey helps support those who care for honeybees, and choosing organic produce can help reduce the overall pesticide load in the environment. By becoming advocates for bees in our communities, encouraging local councils to plant pollinator-friendly flowers in parks and on roadsides, and educating our friends and neighbors, we can amplify our impact. Every action, no matter how small it may seem, contributes to a larger movement to protect these incredible creatures, and in doing so, to protect ourselves. The story of the bee is a profound lesson in interconnectedness. It reminds us that the health of our planet and our own survival are woven into the lives of creatures far smaller than ourselves. We have seen the remarkable diversity of the bee family, from the intricate societies of the honeybee and bumblebee, to the quiet, determined individualism of the solitary bee. Each one, in its own way, performs the vital service of pollination, a silent miracle that brings color to our landscapes and food to our tables. They are not just insects. They are keystones of our ecosystems, essential partners in the great dance of life. We have also confronted the sobering reality of the threats they face. The loss of habitat, the pervasive presence of chemicals, and the spread of disease have created a world that is increasingly hostile to their existence. This is a crisis born of our own actions, a reflection of our disconnect from the natural systems that sustain us. Yet, in this challenge lies a great opportunity. The movement to save the bees is a movement that brings us back into contact with nature. It encourages us to plant flowers, to cultivate life, and to see our gardens and communities not just as spaces for ourselves, but as shared habitats. The simple act of creating a pollinator-friendly space is an act of profound optimism. It is a declaration that we choose to be stewards of our environment, not just consumers of it. It is a way to mend our broken connection to the natural world. One flower, one garden, one bee at a time. Let us move forward with a renewed sense of awe and responsibility for these remarkable creatures. Let us listen for their hum in the garden, appreciate their work in the food we eat, and take meaningful steps to ensure their protection. The future of the bee is in our hands. By acting now, with care and understanding, we can ensure that their vital buzz will continue to be the soundtrack of our summers for generations to come. We can build a future that is not silent, but one that is alive, vibrant, and buzzing with hope.